At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Well, every time, Doc.
Every time.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time for talk about some of the worst comic books of the week. Now, we were going to talk about Captain America, Iron Man, which isn't like the worst comic in the world, but there was some things to talk about. But I was told, a little birdie told me, said, Wes, if you want to talk about something bad, you need to hit up Death of Doctor Strange, Blade #1. So I did that one. Doc thankfully was able to read that in time and get a hold of it. And we were going to hit the Superman, Son of Kal-El annual 2021 first. Obviously, here with me is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
Well, to say that I managed to get it read is, well, it's true in both cases. I didn't have a lot of time, and dear God, it was a struggle to read this goddamn comic book.
Absolutely. That was
yeah, I almost did not get it done because I had to stop like a half dozen times and be like, this is almost as bad as reading Wonder Woman Hysteria or Hysterectomy or whatever.
Well, this
the hell
was like half as
week.
long, thank God.
Yeah, thankfully. But I had to stop just as many times because it was just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, it's worse. I'll give it that. So we'll do the Superman Son of Kal-El annual. I guess that'll be the more high profile book. Obviously, this is Tom Taylor. I'm not sure the artist. It's not the regular John Timms artist. And we got to talk about the art first. What happened to Jon Kent? Why did they give him this stupid haircut?
I don't know. It's like this weird, like half mid 2000s Justin Bieber, half like, well, I guess they figured they can't do the side of the head shaved lesbian haircut on Superman, so they just went for the side of both sides of the head shaved weird mop top thing that he was doing in this one. It was really, really bad. I don't, did this person ever see hair? I mean, has he ever seen like human hair, or at least like, I don't know, you know what? Maybe he doesn't know how to draw like American people hair or white people hair. I have no idea.
Well, it's not why he's Kryptonian, but I hope maybe this is just an artistic interpretation and not the future of Jon Kent, because he looks like a damn fool. But, like, it just came out of nowhere. But you listen, there's editors for a reason. When the editor sees that, they're like, we don't want to make Jon Kent look like a dipshit. We kind of want him to be cool. How about we not put this really stupid haircut on the character for one issue? Hopefully it's only one, but it's almost impossible to read because every time you see him, you're just like, wow, that looks stupid.
Yeah, what did Carrot Top like dye his hair? I mean, because this is really, really bad hair.
Carrot Top's yoked. You know what I mean? If you're going to make a Superman movie, you could get somebody with a worse body for it.
Yeah, I mean, dude is kind of jacked, so yeah,
it's
but
creepy.
I mean, he's
weird to look at.
Yes, it is.
Just like Jon Kent.
Yeah, some like really jacked ginger dude with this really weird haircut, and it's kind of it's like the brunette or black haired version of Carrot Top, and it was really creepy.
There's a couple other things they do to the character, and it feels like this is probably gonna be permanent. Obviously, this is because of the writer, not the artist. But Jon Kent apparently has had a personality transplant. He's very sassy now.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's like I guess we're on the descent in the decline of Jon Kent as a lovable character that you could really, resonate with and root for. He's just going to be super quippy and super sassy one-liner Jon Kent moving forward, like Spider-Man, but not funny and kind of lame.
Yeah, like if they're going for this like Spider Boy, Superboy thing, they're really missing the mark. But then again, I mean, Tom Taylor's an Aussie and also has no sense of humor, so that kind of makes sense. Like it'd be like your kind of weird, creepy uncle that thinks he's telling jokes but isn't really that funny, thinking that he was going to be a comedy writer. and write Spider-Man, except for he's doing it on Superboy. And it's
Well,
really
we already
weird.
saw Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That thing.
Oh
was,
yeah.
pretty much
you know
unreadable.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. He's writing Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man again, but with Superman. That's not Superman.
And the worst part is, we'll take out the haircut on Jon Kent and the personality transplant that he's had. We get the introduction of Lex Luthor because, Jon can't have his own villains. He's got to have his dad's villains. Whatever. Makes sense. Since he's Superman, Lex Luthor probably still has a beef with him. There's like a weird characterization that Superman was always antagonistic to Lex Luthor and he like never tried to reason with him, which I guess ignores about 80 years of history with the two characters. Is Superman has been quite reasonable and tried to let Lex Luthor know you could be a hero if you wanted to be, if you didn't hate me so much.
Yep. I mean, Superman has spent most of the past, 8 decades basically saying, Lex, come on, dude, just seriously get over your weird thing with me, like your inferiority complex, and like do something great for the world because you have the ability to. And apparently we've forgotten all about that because you know what this is reminding me of? This is reminding me a lot of whenever they replace Nick Fury with the not Nick Fury that's in the Marvel universe now. And they gave him all of Nick Fury's traits. They ended up giving him his name, even though that's not really his name. They gave him his job. They gave him his villains. They gave him his romantic interest, which is also really weird. And then they, just so that they could change the character, they want to make John Clark, rewrite Clark's history, give it to John, and then make this the real Superman moving forward. That's what this feels like, and it's really irritating.
Well, what would be really weird is if they gave John Clark's love interest. That would be really creepy. I don't see Bob Taylor going that far. But, it's like modern comic writers, like, well, all history's out the book. History begins today because I'm just going to ignore all the history of Clark Kent and Lex Luthor, Clark Kent and Superman. And this is the only Superman that's ever tried to reason with Lex Luthor. And we got to talk about Lex, Doc, because this is a wholesale gelding of the character. The one thing Lex Luthor, he's got the money and all that stuff. He's a strategical genius. That is something that's formidable that Superman has to deal with, that he's at a disadvantage. They sit down and play a game of chess. Obviously, chess is a game of strategy.
Yep.
And he loses in like 5 moves to Jon Kent because Jon Kent, of course, because he's a new hero and he's a Tom Taylor hero now. He's got to be a fucking Mary Sue. Gary Stu.
Yep.
Gary Stu, and he has to outwit Lex Luthor in a matter of pages.
Yes. Here's the thing. They already addressed this a long time ago with Superman. He's physically he is able to be super fast. He has all those powers and everything. Mentally, like his brain still works the same as a normal human brain. That was the one big difference between like Superman and like Wildstorm's version, Mr. Majestic. Mr. Majestic actually was able to go and like super speed read the entire goddamn library in 5 minutes, but Superman can't. That's not in his power set. But of course, Tom Taylor needs to make it.
Even if it isn't in John's power set, it basically says that Lex Luthor can't recognize what John's doing and adjust his strategy.
Yeah. That
should be the one thing Lex Luthor can do against anybody. And you've cut the character's nuts off and made him look inferior to this new character. He's no chance at all. He's got no advantage over him anymore.
Yeah.
He's not a foe.
Yes, the whole point of Lex versus Superman is Lex was vastly more intelligent than Clark was, and that John is supposed to be. It was intellect, it was brains versus brawn, it was money versus kind of the everyman. It was ethics versus a spinning moral compass. That was the whole thing with Lex. Now you've taken away Lex's biggest advantage in making them even. The whole point of Lex versus Superman is only interesting if they are evenly matched, and they're evenly matched by one's strength and the other's weakness versus the other's strength and the first one's weakness. That's the whole point. And they just took that away in literally the first encounter. So
the worst thing
why
is,
should I ever care?
Because Tom Taylor's writing in this era where you have so many terrible comic book storytellers. This isn't the worst put together story. The dialogue sucks. The characterization sucks. And the character assassination on Lex Luthor sucks. But in comparison to something else out there, people will be like, what are you talking about? This comic book's great. It really isn't.
No.
Because it is fucking up all the characters.
Yes. This comic exists to basically once again show that Clark is the inferior Superman, because he didn't, somehow over the course of 80 years, if he didn't think, hey, why don't I just go to the library and read the entire thing and become smarter than Lex overnight? Why don't I just read the entire internet overnight and know all the knowledge everywhere, eliminate my weakness? No, Clark never thought of that one if that was in his power set.
And new readers of Superman will be like, well, Clark Kent never tried to reason with Lex Luthor? Yeah. Yes, he did, you dipshit.
He did for years, decades.
Yes, and Tom Taylor, it's just, he's the fucking worst.
It is. He is. This comic exists to shit over the original and say the new version is better. That's all this comic exists for. And he uses it by juxtaposing it against the original's biggest nemesis.
And this is like Brian Michael Bendis, like 2.0. It's like Brian Bendis, a bit of a better comic writer at this moment in his career, but with less regard for the history and the characters, if that was even possible.
Yeah. I mean, Bendis had, from time to time, he would show serious regard for certain characters that he really did like. But anyone else, he treated like a fucking joke. And Tom Taylor just looks at anything that was created before 2015 as a goddamn joke. Because you know what? He's not a comic fan. Fuck you, Tom Taylor. You're not a comic fan.
What does he care if he destroys them?
Yeah, they're not. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit about any of this stuff. All it is a goddamn paycheck for him.
Yeah, it's just another character, another scalp that he gets to put on there. And obviously, Jon Kent's going to be the latest one. That was a shitty comic book. This next one is actually worse. This Death of Doctor Strange Blade #1 from Danny Lore. It's worse, but it's far less important. This is the most inconsequential tie-in maybe I've ever seen on a Marvel comic. I don't know why it exists. But speaking of Brian Michael Bendis, it's clear that Danny Lore went to the Brian Michael Bendis School of Comic Book Writing, or maybe she gets paid by the letter, because this thing is overstuffed with exposition that's explaining the picture that you're seeing. Yeah. If you want to write a fucking novel, write a book.
Write a novel. Yeah, go write a novel. This comic exists to give not Vita Ayala another paycheck, because look, this comic exists literally to just fill up more of a CV. That's it. They're doing Danny Lore a favor by giving Danny Lore another comic to write for no reason. It doesn't need to matter. It shouldn't matter, because anything with Danny Lore's name on it, they know doesn't matter. But they got to give Danny Lore more money. They got to give Danny Lore more work. And this comic doesn't matter. The story, other than it being wildly tangentially, not even tangentially, it's like, I don't know, what's about the 10th order of magnitude term for how it's related. I mean, this shit is less related to the death of Doctor Strange than I am connected to Kevin Bacon. And everyone's connected by at least 6 degrees by there. So this comic was pointless. It didn't matter. The only connection was, hey, by the way, Doctor Strange died, and now we're throwing parties in Vampire Nation. That's it.
Yeah, if you're going to write this story that isn't really related to the time, you can at least do a good job and do something fun with it. This is just is so lame. Like, why am I even looking at this? And it's a waste of the art. I think the artist does a pretty good job, or certainly a good as good a job as they can with this shitty script, where you have a writer that's literally, using exposition to explain what's already on the page.
Yeah.
There's.
I would be insulted if I was the artist, because I'd be like, do you not understand that I draw the pictures? You don't need to describe what I'm drawing. Like, you don't need the caption for it. Hey, as Blade jumps towards the thing. Yeah, we fucking see it. I mean, is this like, I'd say, is this is a comic that you could have put in Braille. I mean, if you wanted to do Braille comics, this would be fine. Because anyone that can read it visually can also see the pictures. I don't understand how. I would be insulted. I'd be like, did I just not do my job? Because I thought that I explained this. I thought I visually told this story fairly well. I mean, it wasn't the greatest art. I'm not a big fan of the style of art, but nothing here mattered. Like, it was just more words covering the art. That was it, over and over, every page.
Yeah, this is one of the most exposition heavy books, and it makes no sense to have all this exposition in there. And then I got to see who the editor is on this, because it's so infuriating. You're like, where's the person that's the professional that's supposed to step in and save this writer from themselves? They're clearly not very good at what they're doing. So the editor is Darren Shan, assistant editor Kat Gregorowitz.
Okay. Two incompetent people. Darren Shan, almost everything that he edits ends up a disaster. I'm sorry, I've never read a decent. I've looked and seen his name on the editor's page a number of times. He's another Jordan White. He's Jordan White 2.0. What is his job? What exactly do you do here? Because
it seems like he was not like checking emails or something, because he wasn't editing the fucking comic book.
No, not at all. There was no editing done on this comic book. Editing normally means either reducing the amount of stuff put in there or changing the stuff and the order in which it's put in there. You did obviously neither here. Because if this is the cut, all I could say is if Darren Shan actually edited this and edited it down from something larger, holy shit, what was the original script that was turned in if this is the edited version?
I think they just do spell check.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Look, this comic deserved this. This is a comic that should have existed as a backup story in an issue of Marvel Comics Presents in 1989. It doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. It's boring. They obviously aren't going anywhere with this. It was just here's a random throwaway story set in this vampire nation, this new vampire nation with Blade as the sheriff. That's it.
The worst part is, Blade's supposed to be a big character. We remember that was like one of the first big Marvel movies that really hit. I think everyone kind of really enjoyed that. When we're getting a relaunch of it, it feels like it's supposed to be important. Yet they're giving these one shots to like Danny Lore and Daniel Kibblesmith. It's like, what do you fucking hate Blade fans? Can we put somebody that's got some talent or potential to do something in this industry besides just fail completely?
Well, I believe the way that Marvel handles that they've been, basically treating Blade. Look, a line from the first Blade movie really sticks out. Some motherfuckers just want to try to ice skate uphill because they're making this so much harder than it ever has to be. All you got to do, if you want to do something with Blade, if you want to make Blade cool, find a person that actually likes Blade, that not that just wants to write Blade, somebody that actually loves Blade, and be like, hey, go crazy writing a bunch of vampire hunter shit. That's it. There's your marching orders. Go have fun. And then when you turn in some gore laced, crazy batshit adventure through Transylvania and New York's underworld and all the way into some obscure Eastern European country and slaughter things, maybe everybody's like, hey, this is a fun adventure. That's it. That's all you need with Blade. It doesn't need to be any deeper than that.
This stuff's making Jason Aaron look good, and that's not a good sign for Marvel, and that is not a compliment to Jason Aaron, and it's certainly not a compliment to this comic book. So, hey, I think we found two doozies. Tom Taylor does what Tom Taylor does best. He's fundamentally breaking the character of Jon Kent. He's gave him a really stupid haircut. He's got a personality transplant, which we all knew was probably coming. More concerning is he's destroying Lex Luthor. He's no longer has any advantage over Jon Kent. It poses no threat whatsoever. So I guess he's going to have to go destroy a new villain after this because, what's the point of having that character? And this Blade one shot was just completely worthless. I like the art to a degree, but there's almost nothing redeeming. There's not a word redeeming, within in the story itself.
Nope. This was the Blade was a waste of a comic, and Superman, Son of Kal-El Annual was a straight up character assassination of one of the few remaining villains in the DC universe.